Alright, so we have the Anycubic Chiron that we're going to be taking a look at today. So it's a large build volume printer. I think it's about 400 by 400 by 450, and it's obviously standard FDM, so it prints your ABS, PLA, PETG, wood, all that type of stuff. It is a big box. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's take a look and see what we get. So I've had to relocate to do this unboxing because how big and the amount of stuff that's going to be here. So obviously we get the topping, the top protector, go down there. Alright, and we'll go through all the individual stuff in a minute once we get it all unboxed, but there's all the parts, accessories, hot end and cleaners and all kinds of stuff in there, so we'll sit that to the side and we'll take a closer look in that later. We've got some more packaging, which is good considering that the corner of the box had been crushed, so it's good that there's a whole lot of packaging, and there is a lot of packaging as you can see. So it all comes quite secure, and there it is in the box. It is huge. Yeah. Alright, so let's get it out. So according to this, it has a bit of information: PLA, TPU, bed temperature 50 to 70, PETG 70 to 100, ABS, nylon, PC and PP 90 to 120. And okay. Rightio, so let's get the gantry out of here. Okay, so there's the gantry. So there's the gantry and its casing and everything. So pretty big. So get it out of here. Alright, so there's the gantry. Just gonna chuck this over here. As I said, we're working with limited space right now. And now we have the base, the heat bed, and as you can see, they've mounted the control panel and everything like that onto the actual base. I'd say I'll need to move that a bit later. Let's see if we can get it out first. I know this is going to be a one-man job. Okay, so it's gonna. My cameraman's going to remove that box. Chuck it over there. And obviously,
there's a dog.
Lock the camera while he does it. Anyway, so there is the base. This thing is huge. Oh, and there's underneath that, which I showed you is the spool is under there too. Alright, so there we have it, and there is an actual full spool of filament. So none of this give you a couple of meters business. We actually get the whole spool, which is good. Not that we don't have enough. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at what is actually included in the kit. So what we'll do is we will unmount that camera and bring it a bit closer so we can actually see what is in the box. So let's take a look at what we actually get here. So we have bags upon bags of stuff in here apparently. Okay. So there's the initial bag. So there's the SD card. It's a full-size SD card. There's the cleaning tool for the nozzle. get a whole hot end assembly, which is pretty cool that it comes with a whole spare. That I am guessing is the spool holder. It looks like we get a spare. So this is the auto leveling device. So it'll be interesting to see how all that amounts. Some screws and nuts, a power cable, the filament. We've got the warranty card, the user manual. So let's have a look in here. Let's see if this is a full size book. So it tells us all the parts that we're meant to get, and it shows us the view of the printer, menu directories. So it's actually quite detailed. How to zip ties, what we should be undoing. So that also goes into the building of the machine as well. So there is a lot of information in there. We'll sit that over there because eventually all this will go somewhere else. Alright, what else have we got in here? Okay. So we've got T-brackets. So these will stay up because obviously they're going to be used to strengthen the gantry to the base. In this one here, so that's the quality assurance. There's the warranty card, USB. Actually, make sure it's not a reader, and it is actually, no, it's actually a USB. Yep. Right. So that'll probably have all the software and everything on it. USB cable and gloves. We then have the spatula. And what tools do we get? So what I'm hoping is, as you can see, I don't have any of my tools out. I want to be able to build this thing just off the tools that it comes with. Because as a hobbyist, if I'm getting into this, then I may or may not have the tools required. So hopefully it comes with everything that's needed. So we get some pointy nose pliers. That's nice. We have a spanner and 5 Allen keys and a flat screwdriver and obviously your cutters. So that is everything that comes within the whole thing, and then obviously there's the filament there. So what we're going to do is we are going to put all of this off to the side, mainly the stuff that we're not actually going to be using right now, and we will get into the building. I'll say that stuff there is stuff that we're going to need, and we'll get into building this machine. Alright, so we'll switch back to the other camera. Okay. Alright, so we're back to the main machine itself. So we're just going to separate the gantry and the base. So the one thing I do like about this as well is, and I will touch on this right now, is that it does have the dual axis, and I believe it's supposed to have dual Z limit switches, which it does. Okay, so the way the dual Zs work on this is it's actually got a piece of metal that goes in between the sensor, and then it sort of gives it a circuit, so to speak. And so it does have one here and one there. So I do like that, but it'll be interesting to see how the software reads that, and if it reads that it's straight or not, or if it'll cancel it with the motor. Because that would be cool if it would auto counter the fact that, say for example, it's not tramming properly and it's sort of slightly off axis, if the motor will naturally adjust that so that the left motor might stop and the right motor keep going to. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. So what we'll do is we'll throw that there for now, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. Let's get this unwrapped, shall we? I don't know where I put my handy dandy scissors. So these are the device that I'm bringing to the table with my scissors. So I said that without any tools at all, so technically I was wrong because we are using a tool and scissors. Alright, so we're not going to take this off yet until it's done, but everything is cable tied. There's 1, 2, and a very, very big cable tie. Like, this thing is massive. Okay, let's start switching to the tools it comes with. Let's get rid of some of these cable ties. That's some pressure. So there's quite a few of them. So there's one cable tie that holds the bed in place. Then there's a cable tie here which also secures the bed using the bottom. There we go, it's 2. Quite solid. There's another one here. It's 3. And then there's one on the actual belt. Obviously we don't want that there, because otherwise that would make it interesting when it's going back and forth. And there we go. We now have movement. Okay, so what else have we got here? Alright, so let's undo those so we can at least move the screen out of the way. Let's see what size it uses. Let's take a guess. There we go. It's already loose, which is good. Alright. So that one didn't want to turn. We will get that out ourselves. There we go. So we're just going to sit that off to the side. Okay, so there we have it. So the screen is more than likely going to go about here, I would say. But we will, so yeah, I think we will. Can't really see a picture right now. Oh, there we go. So we're going to go by pictures. So there it looks like that's about mounted there according to the instruction manual, so we're going to go with that. I think that looks pretty close to me. Although, that's interesting. The part that I do find interesting here is that it actually, the slot, it's at the top that it grabs a hold of it. So it's only a small area that it grabs a hold of. Doesn't hate when that happens. You just can't get it to there we go, want to turn. Okay, so I want that right up against there. Like that. Alright, so there we go. So the screen's mounted. That's good to go. We'll probably have a look at that cable because I don't like, I'm fussy about my cables, and that I don't like already. But there's the bed. There's all kinds of cables happening here, so we're gonna have to sort of see how all this pans out, I guess. But what I do want to show is the underneath the bed. So I've got, so these will be to connect obviously your motor. So this one here will be your motor. This one here will be your stop switch. Motor, stop switch again on each side, so that will be those. We then obviously have the motor just here with the y-axis, and then there's the power to the bed. Apart from that, everything underneath it is pretty big, so I might actually just roll this up to its side. It's got some weight in it, that's for sure. So it's got a decent sized power supply in it, which is quite good to see. So what's it set to? 230 volts, which is for our country, so you want to make sure that that is set, and we'll bring this around. Okay, so here we have your on-off switch, your power plug. This will be, I'd say, to connect your extruder and stuff like that. There's your USB connection, and there is your SD card. So it's interesting to see that they're using the old printer style USB-A. So rather than like your micro USBs or USB-C or any of that, they're using a pretty common one. Lift it back up here. So you can see inside quite well, so you can see that it's all labelled, and I might just move that up here. So you can see in the board, you can see all the cabling and stuff like that. It doesn't look overly managed, and it looks like there's some, that's a bit concerning because that looks like that's wire right there. So already I'm a little concerned by what's happening here. I don't know whether that is because it's actually a broken wire, or if it's just the way that it's cable, like the way that the binding, sorry. But I've never seen binding that is actually glue everywhere. That is like that. So I have a feeling that that is broken, or it was meant to be a 3-wire and they've cut a wire out of it. Either way, I am scared of that. So we might end up pulling this off. Actually, we might just do that now. Actually, we're going to take this panel off, and we're going to take a look at that wire because I'm not in the mood to blow things up today. Normally, I'm always keen to set things on fire or blow things up. I may or may not have done it a couple of times, but today I think we'll pass on those achievements. I'll take this off and you guys can take an actual closer look at it through the cage as well. Probably should have left that off there. That's okay. Does this just pull off? Look at that, nice and easy. Okay, so on the fact that there's string and glue, which I don't have a problem with, that's fine. You can see that everything is terminated within the power, which is good. That's good to see. It looks pretty clean in there. There's your steppers, so it's good to see that if we choose, we can change our steppers. That's always good, rather than it being built on. And there's a fan, looks like a fairly decent sized fan just here, which then blows over the stepper drivers. Sorry, stepper drivers. It's kind of interesting to see how they got it, because this here is a so they've actually wired up a power pack. So as you can see, it's a power pack here, and then that plugs in to here, and the power obviously just comes into the power supply, and that's how it works there. So rather than it just directly connecting to the board from the power supply, it uses a brick. There's the SD expansion hub and everything like that, but what we're looking at here is right here. It does look like at one stage this was possibly a 3-core rather than a 2-core, and they've just cut it, and look at that. So if I track that back, it goes all the way through here, and I'm worried now because that's a 2, which generally transposes back through here somewhere. So I'm not really sure, without doing some major detective work, where this actually goes to. It looks like it leads to, actually I do know where it goes. It goes to the hotbed, so that doesn't need, so I'm going to trim that away, because I just don't like the idea of any of that, and that could have been a lot cleaner. I would have used some heat shrink over that and just keep it nice and clean, but okay. I will now try and put that back, but I don't want to go too far because I obviously need the bed to move. So, and then if I put it here, it's now in the way of the fan that blows over there. So they probably could have made it a little bit longer and had it come maybe just above these screws here, but we're going to sit it there. But there's the inside of it. I'll give you a quick close-up of it and show you the top as well. So there's all your boards there, as I said, there's your steppers, and it's got, I don't know, it looks like it's got all the extra power that it needs, and there's the brick that I was talking about. Your amplifiers, everything like that are all in here. Everything looks pretty good. There's the fan that blows up over to your steppers. It does, it looks good. There's a, it looks like the Z is bridged, or they're using EO, I'm not sure. So you got X, Y, Z, then you got EO and E1. I would have expected to see another Z in there for the Z motor, but I guess they're possibly using EO. Sure, they have their reasons, but apart from that, yeah, looks good. Everything seems to be cleanly terminated where it needs to be. So we'll chuck this back on. And I do like the fact that this is actually just easy. It is 4, but this is the part that I don't like. This is what I was saying, like this wire here sort of has to sit there, otherwise it gets squished. So you've got to sit it on top of the fan, and even still there, I think that could have been better. I think they could have definitely routed that a lot better. Even if it was, you know, another couple of centimeters and it went under the fan and then out rather than over the fan. But I can't see that I'd be able to successfully do that because it's not long enough. It's just needing to be loosened again because I moved it. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can really do too much with it, which is a shame. And maybe it's one of the changes that they can make if they decide to make a upgraded version of this, and I guess we'll find out if it's worth making an upgraded, if it even actually prints first. So I've seen a little bit of information out on this, and obviously I did my research before delving into this project, and there's a bit, but there's not a huge amount. You see a few builds here and there and everything, but most of it's done by people like me that have been printing for quite a while. And that's why I chose that I want to have a go at just using, apart from my scissors to open the packaging, just what tools it comes with. I'm not going to do any of the work that I would normally put into a 3D printer. I'll level the bed and that's about it. And apart from, and the only other calibration, that's the only calibration I'll do. Then I'll do a test print on it to see how we go with just doing a bed level and how it goes. And then obviously we'll start dialing it in, doing the E-step calibration, do a PID, everything like that, and see how we go. And I'll just show you on the bottom of the bed here. You can see this patterning. So this is actually looking pretty good as to how it's going to heat the bed up, and how hopefully with the way that they've designed it, and from what I'm looking at here, it should be quite an even heating. So the bed should be reasonably hot. So we will flip that back over, and yes, it does have some weight to it. And as I said, I'll show you these connectors again. There we go, and there's the connectors again. So your power, USB, SD, and I'm guessing this is extruder and auto leveling is what I will presume, but we'll see how we go with build. All right, so let's get building, shall we? I'll take this off and you guys can take an actual closer look at it through the cage as well. But we should have left that off there. Okay, does this just pull off? Look at that, nice and easy. Okay, so Right, so we flipped it back over, and now we're going to begin with your building. So as I said, in here are the T-brackets, which are going to strengthen the gantry to the base, and then there's our mounting screws and washers and all kinds of stuff. So where will I put these? I don't really want to put them on there because chances are I'm going to need to move it. So there's a fair bit of room under here, so what I'm hoping is that I can at least get it started and have it sit on square. But again, we will see. Alright, so let's get this on here. Sorry. May have just heard me expect this to be heavier than it was when I went to lift it. I'm used to lifting the base, which in all honesty the base does have quite a lot of weight to it. Alright, let's see what we got here. Comes with spring washers and everything. I might just should go back on. Shoulders cramping up there. So it looks like we can start it without having to manoeuvre it too much. We might even be able to get now out of this side. Don't know about that side because the power there won't be able to spin as much. I mean, we'll be able to get it under there, but it won't have its full turn, and I don't want to tighten it right up until I have it all mounted. So just quickly throw a couple of spring washers into there, like that. Okay. So a trick that I always found handy is when you're trying to tighten the thread, give it half a turn backwards and then go forwards. And generally your thread will, like that, there we go. Your thread will find its home. And now I'm going to leave that one there for now. Just grab another one. Everything's all connected, now it doesn't want to come apart. Look at that. Alright, we'll get that one. Two spring washers are connected and I just don't have the time to argue with them right now. Or they really want to. Where's the hole? Okay. There we go. Interesting one. Somebody want to take? There we go. Now it is. Okay, now what I might do, I might just put it on its back here and we'll tighten it all up. I don't really like doing that because to me it's almost like it's not square. So what I might do is while it's like this before I tighten it, I'm going to put the T-brackets on and try and strengthen and at least get this to hold on reasonably square. And I do like the idea of this too, of these T-brackets, to give it a little bit of extra strength, especially when the prints are this size. So far it's all pretty easy to get in there. Nothing seems overly complicated as of yet. Pretty good? Yep. Alright. So now, that should be reasonably nice. So what we'll do, to tighten up these bottom ones, we're just going to flip it onto its back. A little bit awkward. Just going to give these a quick tighten. Which one am I after? I think that it's these ones. Okay. And there it is. So there we have the gantry connected to, I don't really want to be lifting it right out. It's kind of awkward now. Alright, so the connections. So here we have the stepper motor. There we go. And this one here, which is the where did that go? So we now go to the actual limit switch. There we go. It's into the limit switch there. The same on this side. And we have going to there. And this one going to here. So far everything is relatively easy, makes sense, just plugs in. As I said, I'm not a big fan of that, so you might be able to get that to sort of just need to go, there we go, that's a bit better. Now, and everything else is already connected, so that's all stuck on and everything for your y-axis. And then here is the blue and the red plugs. So red obviously goes to red and blue obviously goes to blue. Now the other side of this is you can't really get it wrong because even if they weren't color coded, because they're two separate different size plugs. We also did check on the power supply already to make sure that it is set. So about, feel for it, I think it's about here something, yeah, there it is, about there. So just here, there's obviously your voltage setting, so you need to make sure that that is set to your country. The slack there is good. So nice coverings, beating, so far it kind of seems okay. But what I'm interested in is how this works. So what I'm guessing, and this is a guess right now, just because I like to guess. The auto bed leveling, it looks almost like it's meant to connect to a magnet is here. So we're just going to have a look at this now. So we're going to do something I probably really shouldn't do, but I'm going to anyway. And it will also give us an answer later on as to how this will level itself out. And this is mainly just because I didn't want to plug it in. Alright, so this is the auto bed leveling. It basically just has looks like it's a switch just here, which depicts it, and then there's a magnet in there. So what we'll do is we'll bring this closer and we'll take a closer look. So as you can see, there's a magnet in there, and then that's just a switch. Try and get it close so you can hear it. May have gone fuzzy for a second there, but anyway. So yeah, so that's that. So we're going to undo the last cable tie to loosen the chain, which is good. And it's even got a stop here, so it can't push that way anymore, so it can't push over that. But what it does do is just in here is the place where you plug this into. And as you can see, the belt covers it. So that would mean that what I'm hoping is it goes under the belt, but I guess for the purpose of just the bed leveling, it shouldn't really matter. And then this here, there's a magnet just under here, and then this here attaches to here, and that's it. That is the bed leveling system. So I'm hoping that this offset is already set, or we have to do it, but hey, we'll see how it goes. So we'll take that off for now. That's a bit flimsy, I don't like that. Rah. It's actually kind of annoying to get into, to tell you the truth. Like that's, let's cheat, because obviously my fingers don't like being in there. So we're gonna use all the tools we have available. Oh wow, it doesn't want to come back out. That's not cool. Normally you should just be able to grab those two sides and it should just slide out. What I'm worried about is that it's going to be lifting the base as well. Here we go. There we go. Alright, so my fingers didn't like being in there. That didn't loosen, which is good. Okay. So yeah. There's the inlet switch there. Apart from that, looks all pretty clean. Everything plugs in under here, and then it's obviously got your connector at the top here, and then that runs through down. Then that's where your red cable is. The blue cable, I don't know. Where does that go? Yeah, okay, so blue cable is, okay, it runs off to your motors. Alright, that's fine. Okay. So that's, according to everything that I'm looking at, that should be pretty much done. So take a quick look at the instructions, and according to this, let's see where we're at. So the only thing we have to do is obviously mount the spool holder, which would be okay. So yeah, I guess that goes like that. Alright. Judging by the feeder up here, a lot of plastic. The gears look metal. Everything else is plastic, which is probably expected. T-nuts. Okay, so we've got the T-nuts on, and we are now going to go here. Which one is it? That's the one I'm after, I think. I might get down a bit because that's there. That's where that runs. So we might just go to about here. Chances are I'm not even going to run this thing because I probably don't have the room. But we will see. So this one's threaded onto here, so that means that that will have to go like that. Just bring that around like that. These ones here, I reckon. No, oh, that's a big one. Big little one, there we go. Alright. There is the spool holder. Okay, so I think we're now at a stage where we can look at plugging it in and turning it on. So let's check with the handy dandy instruction booklet and actually see what we're up to. Okay, so we've done all that, we've done all that, we've done that one. We're on the right switch. Now it says to power it up. Now it says to plug in the power. Only 220 volt is default. Alright, cool. So, alright, let's plug it in and then turn it on, and we'll bring the camera a bit closer so we can actually see all the footage. Alright, so we are now going to switch it on. Actually, we'll move the paper. You can hear my boy in the background. It's stuck to my fingers. Alright. No explosion, so that's a good start. Alright, and there's the menu. So what we'll do is we're going to bring this a little bit closer because the menu is what we're going to be playing with at the moment. So, alright. So let's see what we're actually supposed to do here. So according to this, we should be feeding filament. Alright, so we'll chuck some filament in because apparently we have to test the filament sensor. Now I don't normally run a filament sensor, but because I haven't really had enough time to look into everything here, I don't actually know if I can remove the filament sensor or not. So let's see how easy it is to feed some filament in real quick. There. Into the Right, that's actually really easy. I wonder if I can put a bit of PTFE tube in there by any chance. Between the filament sensor and the where it feeds into the extruder. It's a whole lot of feeding. Let's stop at that. Alright, so the filament seems to go in pretty easy. Alright, so here we have the filament sensor. It obviously just comes from spool into the filament sensor and then into the actual extruder there, and then it goes through the Bowden. So what I'm wondering is about putting a piece of PTFE tube in between here, but we'll see how it all works out and see how it works. But that's it, went in pretty easy. See if I can get it to show it. Oh yeah, there we go. So obviously you can just turn that to feed it or not, which is quite easy. And then your adjustment as to tensioning is just here. So everything seems accessible, everything seems pretty easy. Let's go back to the tripod and continue on our journey. Okay, so here we go. We're back looking at the screen. It says to install the filament. Click Tools. So the touch doesn't work. What's that? Oh, okay, you just got to press it really hard. So you go Tools, Filament, Filament in, cold extrusion prevented. Well, there you go, that's good. Auto heating is on. There we go. So we'll try and aim this a little bit down so you can see that a bit better. There we go. So you can see it doing its thing just there. Bring you in a bit closer, there we go. It's got a bit of a hum to it, which you can hear from the fans, but overall it's not. Oh, there we go. Looks like we're getting a bit of something dropping through. Just down there. Okay, so what happens if I hit stop? Hit filament in again. Okay, so that's, as you can see by the spool holder turning, it's feeding, and we have that, so we'll go stop because I want it to stop feeding, and that's it. So that's the filament is in. It's relatively easy. Does auto heating, does everything. Okay, so now on to manual bed leveling. So for this, it does say that we need to insert our SD card. So we will pause this for a sec and we'll go with an overall video so you can see the whole printer. Okay, so now that we're looking at the overall again, now I've never used anything like this before, so we are going to follow the instructions here. And it says to insert memory card. Insert memory card into the slot at the bottom right side of the printer. On the home menu, of the touchscreen, click print, then choose the file menu. Okay, so go print, manual leveling. What if I don't want a manual level? Okay, so that's for manual. So, it does also say that this, remove this paper before leveling, so we better do that. This paper can be used for manual bed leveling. There you go. Paper, comes with a bit of instruction, a little bit of information, sorry, and it says this paper can be used for bed leveling, optional. There you go. It's pretty handy. Alright, so we'll put that over there. Now we're going to move this stuff. Nobody likes that sound. Forget about it. Alright, so I'm debating here. Do I just want to go straight into, you know what, I'm actually just going to go straight into the assisted leveling. So rather than go manual leveling, we are going to go assisted. Actually, no. All right, we'll do a manual first. We'll at least get it reasonably close, and we'll even use the paper that comes with it. I'm not going to use it at its full size. We're going to trim it down where it has the dotted lines, and then we're going to use that bit. Alright, so we're going to use this part of the paper. Alright, yeah. So according to this, it says manual leveling. We've done that. Insert medical, yeah, we've done that. Printer, choose file, yeah, manual leveling. So I've selected the manual leveling, and we're going to hit print. I don't know if that's doing anything. Now it is. So when it's done with seconds, it says to go to the home menu. I am already. Alright. So I don't know why we just did what we did, but apparently you need to do that. It does absolutely nothing, and then it says to home everything. So we'll home the wire. Okay, we're homing Z. It's a bit shiny. Okay, so we're homing the Z. Thought I clicked Y, but it's a bit glary and I can't really see it. I'm old and going blind. Okay, so this I don't like. So it doesn't look like it has a home all button, which I'd love to see. And it doesn't lock all the motors either when it's homing. This is the part that I want to see. If this isn't even, how does it work it out? So there it is, with that. So from where we're looking at it now, so the left side had homed already, but the right hadn't. So it did actually keep the right one going until it was squared. So now, according to the machine, both sides are where they should be. All right, so let's see how we go. It's also got the clips to hold on the massively thick piece of glass that's on here. Let's see. Look at that. That is nowhere near where it's supposed to be. So we are going to go fairly far behind. Okay. We're using the paper that it says to use. We'll get this to a rough point and then we'll try and, so let's go jump in front of the camera. I'm going to come over this side. This is way too big. But anyway. Okay. So I'm going to come back around this side. And just going to make sure it doesn't hit as it's going along. No, there we go. Okay. Probably should have carved this into a lot smaller pieces, but we'll get there. Now we'll switch around to the back. Try not to stand in front of the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wind these in, and then we'll obviously have to go around again because it's not going to be really square due to these adjustments. We'll probably need to do this a couple of times. You can already see that it's warped. Because of the now that might not be warped because it's warped. It probably warped just because I haven't actually done all the training yet. AKA living on bed. That's a bit much. Scratch it? No, no scratches. So that's good. Yeah, there we go. So this isn't obviously the most exciting part, but unfortunately it is a crucial part. And while my printer gets back here, okay, so according to that, I'm not going to put the print because, as I said, I'm more interested in sort of the auto bed leveling and how this whole system works. So we will now look at homing the wire. No more buttons showing. Maybe I should. Alright. I do like that. I really do. Alright, now, so everything is at home. Okay. Or do we do a level test? I'll tell you what, we'll print a level test. I'm not expecting that to be anywhere near it. Let's see how we go. 11 G code and then leveling test. Here we go. And print. So it shows that the file that we're printing is a level test. Print rate 100%, time, progress, EO temp, bed temp, and the positioning. See how long it takes to warm back up and get back right up to temperature. That was the other thing. I didn't do the bed leveling when it was hot, which is what you do, because I wasn't actually planning on printing. I just wanted to make sure that nothing was going to hit, and then I was obviously going to test this out. But we might as well go through a few steps, and also this will show sort of if there is a discrepancy between, you know, the cold leveling and hot leveling, because generally when things get hot they expand and they move and everything like that. So see how we go. But this is actually pretty good that we're doing it this way, because the idea was that I wanted to know if I could buy a big volume printer and just using the tools that come with it to build it, and if I had basically no knowledge, how easy is it? I don't think we can ever say that we'd be able to know 100% sure how it would go with zero knowledge, because I have half a dozen printers, about the same in resin. So I've got about half a dozen FDM printers and probably about 5 resin printers. So I can't say that I'm going in completely blind, but as I said, I'm not going to do as much of a dial in right away, but I will do comparisons though. So I will eventually print something, I don't really find something else rather than a benchy probably, but I'll print 2 of the same thing. One just doing the bed leveling and letting it go do its thing, and then when I do eventually dial in the PID, dial in the E-steps and everything like that, to make sure that it is all kosher. I also did notice that, and I might show a closer of the underneath of the bed, because it actually has 3 rollers on the outside, 3 rollers on the inside, 3 outside look like they're adjustable, and 1 on the inside center is adjustable. So decent amount of rollers. Hopefully they're not the overly crappy rollers and they travel okay. Looking at the clamps as well, looks like there's two clamps to hold the belt. Nice tension there. I did not look to see about a tension. That is something I did not do. And I don't know if it, wait for it to do this and then we'll have a look. So right now the bed's at temp, but we're still waiting for the extruder to get to temp. So it takes a bit to warm up. Now, I mean, it's cool here, but it's not cold. So it definitely doesn't have the that's not cool. Definitely doesn't have the quickest of heating, but that's probably going to be the thing that's going to annoy me the most. Is obviously when it's down, it'll be fine if you feed the filament in there, but if once it goes to the top and comes back down again, you are going to get slacked. So I normally try and put my filament into a spot where that's not going to affect it as much. So whereas it might be shorter at the high point and longer at the low point, so as it feeds and as it keeps going up, it's feeding less rather than feeding more. But we'll see how it goes when we put it into its home. Still don't know if it's going to fit where we're planning on putting it, but hopefully it will. So as I said, so it does take quite a bit to warm up. So we're almost at 200 now. There we go. Alright, so according to that, EO temps 200, bed temps 60. So if I go back, so I can do speed, I can see status. So she's a bit glitchy up through here, but I don't know whether that's because of the feed or Okay, so there that it's not liking, which I can see already. So see that? So there's down there it's okay, but up the top here it would need to come out a little bit. Okay, so we're now going to look at getting the auto bed leveling happening. So according to this, I should just have to stick that to there. Well, it doesn't seem to want to stay. So we'll put that into there, into its little home up the top there, and then magnetize that to that. And then according to this, it says that we should then go print, auto leveling G code, print, printing is done, hit OK. So, now, tools, more, leveling, pro. Please install level sensor manually, then choose OK to start programming. So that's all on there and that's connected. So if I hit OK now, that's interesting. It's backwards. That's clearly not doing what it's supposed to do, right? So that didn't work. So auto leveling G code, print. We're going to turn this off and back on. So this is interesting. So we did the probing and it went completely the wrong way. Alright, so we're going to have another go at this probing. So I don't know whether it's the way maybe they put a connector on wrong or something like that. So I'm going to check now to see if that is the case. So they're all homed, like it says, things connected. Hit that, hit more, hit level, hit pro, hit OK. Okay, now it's going down. Okay, so what I did is, this was obviously sits on top and then it holds it in. This was put on the wrong way around. So when I pulled this off, you can see where the positive and the negative was. And that's what I presumed because it was going backwards. So I removed that little piece, flipped the plug around so that instead of going that way, and you can't get these things wrong because it'll only go in one way. And yeah, so that was disappointing that was wrong. Looks like the probing's out a little bit as well. It's not probing on the squares that it says it will do. It says that it should be probing around there, so but it's not. That could be a few different reasons, but we'll see how we go. So once it's done with this, so that's actually cool. It does show you what it looks like if it's too high, if it's too close, and how it should look. So A, B, and C. Nozzle too high, what to do. Nozzle too close, what to do. That's not bad. So that's where it's meant to probe in the squares apparently, but it's probably about a couple mil out. But okay, let's just see how we go anyway. Do not test print until read page 23. What does it say on page 23? Because the default nozzle offset has been set 2 to 4 millimeters high, so initially it is okay. It is okay to click a few more times without unnecessarily waiting. Alright, so we might need to adjust some offsets, but okay. Alright, so let's take this out. So now that we also know which way this is meant to go, where did I put that? We are going to put this back on there. Well, I don't need to or have to, but I would like it to be there because it came with it. So you know what, we'll do it later. I just want to print it. Alright. Print. Actually, we'll home it. Rah. Pause. Home. Home. Print. Stop. It's quite rah. You really gotta sort of give it a bit. Probably should tighten that screen a little bit more now too, but I'll have to back it up a little bit. Level test. Print. 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 There we go. Alright, so that's warming up. So I don't lose this. I am going to put that into there. So I guess I like the idea. I like the thought behind this. Providing I don't have to do too much adjustment. Now, don't get me wrong, like when you're running a BL touch or a 3D touch or a proximity sensor or whatever, I mean, there's obviously adjustments that you've got to make. But when I look at something like this, so if I run a 3D touch, so I have a feeling that we're going to have to do some Z offset adjustments. Again, we will see, but I do feel that we'll have to. And as I said, like, it just takes way too long to warm up. And I like the aesthetics of it. I like the feel of it. I like the ideas behind it. I almost forgot to remove this. That's probably one of the biggest things. Although I really do like the idea, having to remember to remove it is definitely a very important step. Might even make a housing for it. Just get like a little aluminium block and have it sit there or something like that. That'll work. It's not aluminium, it's a metal block. Good 3D printer. It's got enough of a step in here. It doesn't have to be magnetic. I mean, I could even just 3D print something, put 2 screws on either side, and it'll do the same effect. It'll be better than having it lying around, that's for sure. This definitely isn't the fastest printer to warm in the world. I mean, it's got a big area, but I would have presumed that with the way that it was underneath, that it would be alright. It was pretty warm. That's a massively thick piece of glass. When the fans kick in, it's got a bit of buzzing about it. But all in all, in comparison to some of the printers I've got, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. So long. So we are up to, so it's warm and it's printing now. So, how do I get it to go to advanced? So, it says here, Okay, so we've done the leveling, we lowered it and everything like that, and then I reprobed it. And as you can see, it is still just that little bit too high. So again, you have to go into tools, into more, into level, into advanced settings, and then it brings up this screen. So now what we want to do is lower it just that little bit more. So that's looking a lot cleaner now. And there we go. So we've dialed it in, we've managed to get it all working. Do I think that you could just grab this printer with no experience and get to printing? I definitely do not. Just to get into this menu is, you know, a task on its own, because I really think that the advanced settings should be in the print screen. So I think in this screen here, there should be advanced settings. Like, you know, like on a lot of other printers where it says, you know, your baby steps or whatever like that. And like, that's the other thing. I don't even know if I can find, you know, you can change your speed. So your fan speeds, your print rates. But it doesn't look like you can actually change your steps. Or filament change or any of that. So I guess we'll see how we go. So I'll let this thing finish. But now that I've, obviously this part here was where I was still tuning it in, but looks like it's got a little bit more to do. But all in all, I think it's pretty close, and we'll do a test print. Alright, so my overall thoughts of the machine. I think the menu is probably a little bit antiquated. The fact that I can't easily access baby steps or any of that, in fact, I couldn't really find the baby steps, and just how hard it is to get to the Z offset and stuff like that, it really should be a lot easier. For how long the printer's been out for, there's probably upgraded software, but just straight out of the box and the way that it's designed, the printer's not that old, so you would have expected it to have, you know, your baby steps, and obviously it has your Z offset, but it should be a lot easier. I like that I can select where I'm sort of offsetting the probe, so I could sit there and I could go to each point and do some manual meshing, I guess. I don't see why I should have to if I'm using the probe. That offset should solve it. Again, I believe that it automatically should also accommodate for the offset for the fact that the nozzle sits here and then the sensor's here. It should already have that offset. That should already be built into the machine. I shouldn't have to adjust it, but so far I have absolutely extended, I think I've done it 500 times or something, the standard XYZ calibration cube. Is it going to be a calibration cube? Well, you could still use it to technically do your measurements that you need to, and everything should be square and all that. But just so you can see the exact difference, there is the Z. It sits perfectly within the Z itself. Look at that. So there's a fair bit difference, and I just wanted to see how it would go across a massive area. I can't fault it so far on that part. The first layer was nice and smooth. It's now doing the infill and the outer wall area. It looks smooth. The machine itself is quite nice, like it's quite sturdy. There's no wobble to it. I should be doing this while it's printing, but it's quite sturdy. I really like the dual Z-axis sensors. So if this one goes in first, this motor will actually stop and let that one keep going down until that hits, and then it'll go up again and then test them both again. So I do like the fact that it makes sure that that is square efficiently. So as long as that central slot, as long as the bar that runs across here is straight, then essentially it should be straight, and then obviously you're just tramming to the bed. So a little bit disappointed by the plasticity in the extruder, but it's kind of what you get these days, so not really too shocked by it. How easy it goes together, well, it is. It's not really complicated. Everything's already set, ready to go, so it's basically just plug it in. You don't have to cable it out. This is interesting. So as you can see down here, the cabling goes underneath the filament. So now that's going to hit the spool. So either you move it out or you just let it go. And I mean, it's not going to affect too much because the pulling is happening here and it's feeding it through, but still, it's one of those things that will annoy me. I like the fact that it comes with a cable chain. So far, I can't really fault it, and for its price, like, I think they're only about, what, 500, something like that. So yeah, so far, I would recommend it, just based on the experience that I've had. I actually don't think it's that bad, but I wouldn't recommend somebody going, hey, I'm going to go out and buy a printer, this is going to be my first printer. No, because you really got to understand a few of the fundamentals. Anyway, that's it. That's my review. That's all I got.